It's really difficult doing like a first introduction bit, but it's like someone could easily just flick off straight away like this.
Yeah.
Welcome to the very first Mognet podcast. My name is Mike.
And I'm James.
And we wanted to start this venture as the very best part about starting this YouTube channel has been speaking to individuals. So this was a good opportunity for us to get on and have conversations with like-minded individuals and share the work of very talented people who love Final Fantasy. A bit about my background. I've been a sound designer and musician for the better part of 15 years. And James, you want to say a little about your background?
Yeah, and I'm like a motion graphics designer. I've been doing that for about 12 years. Started doing most of 3D animation, Photoshop, just a general creative, let's say.
In this episode, we're going to be speaking to YouTube and content creator Mr Remmington. The first half of the chat is us getting to know each other a bit. He talks about growing up in South Africa, the content that he creates on his channel. And then the second half, we get into Final Fantasy, his favourite Final Fantasy, and talks about some deep cut lore. And this is Mr Remmington. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Remington. Would you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
That's a very hard introduction to make. Hi, I'm Mr. Remmington, but everyone calls me Remy for obvious reasons because my actual name is too long and confusing. I've been a long-time content creator on YouTube with struggling to find my way up because my content keeps changing. Self-taught animator, artist, voice actor, and content creator currently. Yeah, that's me.
That's quite a resume.
I don't like college. I like to teach myself everything. I'm stubborn that way.
What was the first thing you started out of those?
Well, I mean, everyone started out. I mean, everyone that's remotely creative started out as like an artist in school, and not doing your homework, just sketching your life away. And when you're younger, you like base your entire personality on that, without the idea of something else could be. And that was kind of like my trajectory. I did nothing with no impact for like almost a decade, just like coasting. I did the band thing during that time, the tattooing during that time, but nothing ever came. And then I started like really knuckling down at about 28, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you've done pretty much the exact same thing as me and James.
Yeah, that rings really true.
Yeah, I tried everything, but I think when I got into the relationship with my now wife, it was like, okay, now I've got to get shit done because now someone's relying on me. Let's go.
Yeah, pretty much the same with me. Me and my partner were together for about 6 months when we found out we were expecting my first child. That was my kick up the ass. And
right,
all of a sudden, after like all of this sort of like decade and a half of meandering through things, all of a sudden things have to just fall into place. And you're like, okay, right, things are
I think it's important to bugger around while you can, because eventually things are going to get too busy and too important to do anything that's like that for yourself. You get moments, but generally your purpose is your purpose.
And then you find yourself reminiscing about those times when you
quite
often, and then use those to make some people.
I'm like, I wish I had that level of free time that I had when I was in my 20s now to be able to accomplish that sort of stuff. Because now it's just like juggling between 2 kids and work and all different things.
I'm still having a hard time with that. Like, I know I got things to do and I do them fine. I'm good at self-managing, but I'm always just like wishful. I could have just doing this right now. However, I don't know really what I enjoy anymore. I'm at that age where things are just like falling out. So I'm like, I don't know what I enjoy anymore. So I'm just kind of like just doing my work until something comes up where I'm like, I actually like this again. Shit, I have a hobby.
Yeah, nice. I feel like we felt like that a bit, but now we kind of got to a point as then we're making this channel and stuff where we were just like, why aren't we just doing something that we want to do because we enjoy doing it, and that will resonate, rather than like bumming around trying to do millions of different things and getting half into stuff, and then like we only started this for essentially just for a passion project, and it's
your guys' channel just popped up out of nowhere, and it was just, geez, where'd this guy's come from? How old is the channel?
About 18 months.
Yeah, you guys have a good amount of subs for 18 months. Damn.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird journey, but like as I say, I've never been. I don't think either of us have been one to have like I've done music videos for other people, and I've done bits and bobs and animation for other people. I've never really done stuff for ourselves, and that was but
it's a weird thing to do for yourself, right?
Yeah, that was a weird thing for me and Mike to realize. It's like, why are we doing this stuff for other people?
It's like we met each other in our first year of university, and we'd sit and remix Final Fantasy stuff then, and like Sonic music and stuff like that, and just get the MIDI files and import them and mess around with it. And then it took us like another 10 years after that to start doing this. So
put it on the internet.
It's like, what did we just do that in the first place? And I think it was like a mix between confidence and who's going to want to watch this stuff? And then you start finding all these different other channels that people are doing, and you're like, that person is doing such a great job. I can do that in a different way that's true to myself and my style and achieve it. I think that's what you were saying you've been doing with your channel.
Yeah. My issue is I can never settle on one thing. So I always come up with a bunch of ideas that could work. However, I know the YouTube algorithm is fickle, and you can't divert your content too much. And I got thousands of notepad entries on my phone of things that I could do, and I'm like, I could build this channel and sell it because I'm not going to have time to do it. I can do that. So I have constant ideas, but I got to keep making new channels for every idea because it's such a far cry from what my subs expect.
Yeah.
And then I got TikTok, which is like almost on 35k followers now, but doing whole different content. So I'm trying to like merge those two worlds somehow.
Yeah, that's a world we've not touched yet at all. I'm quite terrified as a 34-year-old. Quite terrified of TikTok.
TikTok is the easiest algorithm to crack right now. I'm just being straight. It's easy. Like its whole system works differently. YouTube is there's a lot of factors. With that, you just gotta time it, use the correct tags, have at it, and use a popular sound, and you're good.
Black magic and witchcraft on YouTube.
So like your channel is like, as you say, you've got a lot of different types of content and stuff on there, but you've got a lot of like reaction videos on there, and you're like, bigger hits seem to do, but obviously be like the Bo Burnham videos because Bo Burnham's like a dude. But like,
at the time, it was popular. Everyone was doing it.
He really popped off during that time.
Because his episode Inside, his whole thing on Netflix just came out, and then he has shortened all of his songs into individual clips on YouTube, and then I saw everyone was reacting to them, and I didn't want to do it because reactions feel very just easy videos to make. They're so easy, man. Even if you edit the crap out of them, add transitions where there really shouldn't be, it's still easy to do. And I did it because it was fun to hear these songs and to have people genuinely engage, and and then there's an income coming from those videos doing well, which at the time was necessary. But I do want to do more, but I don't want to make it like a focal point for sure.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like the reaction video. Like you see some reaction videos, and it's just literally someone just plays the video 2/3 of the screen and there and ever. But then there's always a space for people to react to things, and if you and enjoy watching people react to stuff because it's like
But also the reaction genre is not popular currently. I think the biggest peak was a couple of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. That's why you got like the LFR family reacts. They got giant channels, and then there's various other guys that have massive channels because reactions at the time were so popular. It was a big market. I just didn't catch on until later because I'm never attentive.
Yeah, well, I say, I mean, we grew up in the massive YouTube boom type thing where like people like I sat and watched PewDiePie just go like that through like.
I like a small, quiet life. I can't hear. I mean, we're so far from town. It's not far. It's about 15 minutes drive, but it's far enough that you can't hear traffic. It's just nothing but the ocean and the occasional peacock that will shut up.
Well, we have seagulls that eat everybody's chips, and anything else you've got tons of tourists.
They're the most aggressive seagulls in the world.
It's a big tourist town, so it's very. I live 10-minute walk from town, maybe, but
we see people in December mostly, but otherwise it's quite remote. People don't really come here all that much. It's mostly, it's a trend in this town that people live in small villages outside the town. So you get places like Kids Beach, Christmas Rock, Sea Vale. They're all like places along the coast, 10, 15, 25, half an hour drive from town, but people would rather stay there and just commute rather than staying in town.
Is Christmas Rock a place in Kingdom Hearts? Because that's what it sounds like.
Well, I don't know. It might be.
It really does.
Sounds like a town in
no, it's a small village. Everyone goes there for New Year's usually for giant bonfires and stuff. It's really cool.
Coming to Disney World near you.
Christmas Rock.
Fair enough. Going back to your reaction videos a second. So I was watching the one you uploaded the other day, which was a South African and cyberpunk, and I was creasing.
Yeah.
Made me laugh quite a lot. And you've done quite a lot of sort of like putting games into a South African context, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Like, what made you want to do that?
Afrikaans is not a very widely known language, and it's not really represented. The last time they used to dub things into Afrikaans, like a studio dubbing things into Afrikaans, was like the 80s and early 90s. But those were mostly just cartoons, like Heidi, the 90s shows we used to watch, and like Wish Kid, the Venskant, that kind of thing. But by the time apartheid was like really over, Afrikaans wasn't something you heard, really. Even the other African languages or the local language, you don't really hear them dubbed. But lately, more and more, you're hearing like Xhosa and mostly Zulu, though. But not on national TV, not really, on like smaller networks. Yeah. Which is strange. I figured with those two massive languages in the country, they would see more. But not really. I don't speak them. I speak only Afrikaans, which is like the Dutch derivative. So I was raised bilingual, even though my dad's English. He came from England to here, and then somehow raised me in like the most Dutchman town you can imagine. Afrikaans school, Afrikaans friends with like the hardest Afrikaans names, and so like Helgar Tupasani is his name, and I'm like, hey, I got a very normal name.
It's an awesome name.
So
yeah.
And my name, I don't mind, it's Llewellyn.
I know Llewellyn. I haven't heard that name around.
Or if you want to get Welsh about it, it's Llewellyn. Double L makes that sound. Oi.
Yeah, so whereabouts did you say your dad was from England originally?
Yeah, he's from a place called St Albans.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've not been before, but I know the place. Yeah.
I mean, he left when he was like 10, so he's much older now. So it was a long time ago. The irony is where he stays. I saw him recently because he lives a while, like 3 hours away. I saw him recently. I said, Dad, are you ever going to go home and visit St. Albans? You haven't been there since you were like 10. And he goes, I live near there. It's a prison. It's a prison down. But an hour's drive from where he lives. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go there, Dad. Prison called St. Albans.
No way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so the Afrikaans thing is that on TikTok, for some reason, Afrikaans is it does really, really well if the content's decent. And that's where I got my first like TikTok like follower bump, was when I would like the language is very it's very spoken and colloquial. It's kind of like merged its way into English, and it forms its own thing. So there's not really a scholarly point of view that people learn Afrikaans. You learn it in school, but you learn the basics. No one like learns it. So when I tell people like, this word and this word sound the same, but they're not, and they're like, I never thought of it that way, because no one ever looks at it from like a scholarly point of view. And I'm like, this will do well, and so it did. And then people started asking.
Sorry, you can.
No, carry on. No, carry on.
Sorry. Well, I mean, I'm really bad for that sometimes. I'll just interrupt people unnecessarily. So, our exposure outside of the UK to Afrikaans is even more minimal. Like, our exposure to any sort of media from South Africa is minimal. I think the only sort of things I've watched and got really into is like Neil Blomkamp stuff, just because.
Oh, yeah, District 9 and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Oat Studio stuff.
If you watch District 9. The guy who kind of gets transformed into a prawn, he was also in Elysium. Also
he's his mate, isn't he? What's his name?
He had a very He had a very
Sharpler Copley.
He had a very Afrikaans accent. Like I thought it was brilliant. Like an Afrikaans accent it's such a villain accent. But like somebody said, I was like being mean to like the Afrikaans people. Like, bro, listen, when a Dutchman speaks to you in the most calm voice, but he speaks Afrikaans to you, like, bro, what did I do? They're so. I mean, you for some reason, someone did a video on this, and I agree. Whenever you speak Afrikaans, your voice just naturally drops an octave. It's like, hi, how's it going? Hello, mensen, gaan het met jou? Drops, So it just sounds menacing. So if you watch, either of you fans of the MCU, this is just quick.
I'm in and out.
There's a character.
Anything with Spider-Man. Yeah, anything with Spider-Man.
Okay.
The main movies, not as much.
There is a character called Claw. He was in Age of Ultron first.
Ulysses Claw.
Played by Andy Serkis, right? He's English, but he's got a Afrikaans accent, and he did very well, very, very well. Because when other foreigners like Matt Damon did it in Invictus and Leo DiCaprio did it in Blood Diamond, it was a decent attempt, but it was just not quite my guy. When it comes to voice acting, or in this case, getting an accent, it's always like there's always that one word or that one sentence that gets you into it. Like I do a decent Frieza impression, so normally I go to like one word, like like Dodoria after them, and then I got it. Yep.
That is pretty good, to be fair. I've just been watching through loads of of Dragon Ball Z. I've been rewatching it, sort of like my little go-to thing when I'm by myself.
The original one, or like the new like remastered version with cutscenes and new animation and new voices and stuff.
The original. But
Yeah.
still the dub, not the sub.
With Bruce Faulkner's music. That like
Yeah,
that was the shit, dude.
It's really weird. I watched plenty of anime and like I grew up on loads of stuff, but I've never ever watched an episode of Dragon Ball. And like I know all about it.
I mean,
like, it's just, I don't know. I skipped it. Like
it was the
different,
first
yeah,
anime
because
I ever saw because it was super accessible to us. Because it was on Cartoon
Yeah, well,
Network.
Mine was like Akira and then Bleach. Like it's a bit
Akira
edgelordy.
was far too violent. I mean, I was a kid when DBZ was out. Well, not kid. I was, more or less. It was showing on Cartoon Network, which we had just gotten on our own version of cable called DSTV, but it wasn't like in succession, so we couldn't keep up. And then our local television, SWC2, picked it up when I was maybe in grade 7 or 8. Then it really aired, and then the whole country loved it.
How old?
Yeah,
Like,
it was one of those things.
The biggest thing. I'm 33 now.
Yeah, same. I'm
33. Yeah, same. 34. So yeah, similar age. Yeah. But like
it was a big. Teachers were watching it. Like literally, we would like just middle of class. Screw the topic. Did you guys watch DBZ last night? Yes. Teachers and students. It was cool.
Yeah, with us it was kind of like you either watched one or the other thing. So there's like they had a group of people watch like Dragon Ball, and then you watch Bleach or Naruto because it was like there was so much content. It's like just pick one, man. Like
Bleach and Naruto became popular a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, later, but that's when that whole boom of like when Naruto like Ghost of Michelle movie, and it was like I got well into like all the Ghibli stuff then as well. So
yeah. The first anime
I
would watch, if I exclude DBZ, because at the time I didn't know anime was even a thing. I thought it was just a cartoon from Japan.
Yeah.
And then the first anime that I watched, we had a channel on DSTV called Animax, which would just show anime stuff. And then first one that I watched was Eureka 7, and it's my favorite anime ever till this day.
Sick.
Oh, I love
amazing.
that.
James, what's your favorite anime?
At the minute, or just of all time?
You pick.
And well, I'm just going to say JoJo because I've got a book in front of me. JoJo's
my wife likes JoJo as well. I can't get into it. It's too chaotic.
I love the chaos. It's like every anime rolled into one, and I think that's why I like it. I mean, the last season of Attack on Titan, literally every episode had my jaw on the floor. But
I watched the first season of that, and it was good, but not enough to be like, let's watch another one. Like,
I watched the first 2, and it took me like another 2 years of falling off it. And Mike was like begging me for 2 years, he was like, please just come back to the show, you will love it. Just come back to it. And then I came back to it in the lockdown, and I watched 60 episodes.
Oh sure, yeah.
And I was like,
anime was ruined for a while for me. Oh sure, okay.
Like that or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I know it's not like the biggest hit is, like the really commercial ones, but it's what I like.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Is it at what point does it matter? As long as you're not saying
going back to what you were saying about the MCU. So me and James are not massive fans of the MCU, but we really liked the comics. So we've both read comics like most of our life. Did you ever sort of get into that side of it? Or you just sort of focus on watching the movies?
Just to be clear, I'm not like either way.
Oh sure, okay. Comics weren't widely a big deal here, but then again, I always lived in smaller cities. I do believe if you go to Cape Town or Johannesburg, you might get like the culture of comic book readers there. But yeah, just where I was from in the Eastern Cape, it just never was a thing. I would find some. I had a Batman one. I had some Wolverine ones that I don't even know where they are. So I did enjoy them, and I would always be on the lookout for them. But getting things off the internet when I was a kid in the 90s was not a thing you could do. Not even the early 2000s. People between 2000 and 07, when I matriculated, there wasn't really access. Only like more wealthier households had internet. So if you wanted to use the internet, you go to like an internet cafe, but nobody really had the time or money to do that. So
understand.
Yeah,
couldn't really get into it. All the only thing that I collected was Mad magazines because for some reason they were accessible.
Yeah,
I always thought that was a more American thing, though. Mad magazines. Sorry, James.
Same. For some reason it was like loads every month. There was a new issue. I got stacks of it over there still. Yeah. Never read it in like a decade, but they're still there.
It's really funny because like my grandparents every year, what I imagine initially got me into comics, would buy me like because they were Scottish. They had like it was a comic book series that was in a newspaper every month, famously in Scotland, called Oh Willie, which is Our Willie, which is Our Willie, even which is just a little kid sitting on a bucket, sure. and the Bruins, which is the Browns. And I used to buy me these, and it's just like really weird, like like newspaper comic strip type stuff.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, but loads of books, and then obviously like as I got older, I was just like, yo, this guy's got claws on his hands, and this guy can swing from wall to wall. This is much cooler than a dude sitting on a bucket.
I don't think I read comics until like maybe 2005, like because we couldn't get them. I couldn't afford them. I was pretty skinny, growing up. So like I think I got into it through watching like the first sort of series of X-Men movies and those like first Spider-Man movies. They may not have aged that well, but I mean, I think that's what got me into it and made me go back and read all the big comic book acts like Days of Future Past
97 X-Men TV show, dude.
Yeah,
that was the show. It
was that and the Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that show. I remember I was in like my late stages of primary school, like grade 6 and 7, maybe? No, grade 5 and 6. They had another iteration of X-Men called X-Men Evolution. When they were like younger. That one was cool as well. I still recall the theme songs. Literally, I can play them in my head all the time.
It was
like Fox Kids or something like that. It was on,
I don't know. We had a localized version of everything, so everything we saw was on Mnet or SABC 1, 2, or 3.
So Remy, you play guitar.
Yeah.
Did you ever learn the theme tune, how to play the X-Men theme tune on guitar?
No. When I first learned, it was actually I didn't even want a guitar. My dad I was a really strange kid who liked various things my dad couldn't understand. And I was autistic, but we didn't know. So it was everywhere. So when it was like my 15th birthday, I was visiting my mom, like 3 hours away. My dad's like, okay, before you go, when you come back for Christmas, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I'll get you a guitar, like a classic one with an Allen strings. I'm like, nah, it's fine. I don't want a guitar. I came back to a guitar. And I never did my homework because I couldn't give a shit, and
it all rings really familiar to me.
and all very, very bored, and then I just learned. But I learned punk because it was the easiest, and my brain could wrap my head around it. It's all just barcode. That's what I learned. So I'm kind of relearning kind of like the more complicated stuff. So like I learned Fisherman's Horizon theme song because it's fucking magic. I'm sorry if I'm swearing. You could
no, all good, man. Fucking go for it.
It's my adjectives.
I don't know why
I'm from Yorkshire. I'm from Yorkshire, mate. That's mine also.
I meant to say go for it, but I just went go away. Really?
Just disconnect. All right, weird. But...
Why?
There's no swearing here.
So I learned the Fisherman's Horizon theme, and I learned Genova's theme. No. Yeah, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good with notes, but yeah, I've always been. I can't focus. Like I'll play for a bit, put it down. And ever since watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I've been learning all the Samurais songs. Johnny Silverhand's music from the game. So I'm learning those songs now. That's why my calluses are back. Yeah, it doesn't hurt anymore.
I love that. And I learned the Genova theme tune on bass. So I can read tab, but I never learned massive amounts of theory. I can do bits and pieces and read out. I can't sight read. Like, despite the fact I've been playing instruments for 20 years, like it's just never been a thing I go into.
No, I get that. I mean, I can read tabs for sure, and I can just play by ear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For the most part.
That's as far as I ever got. I was just tabbing. Yeah, when I was a kid, 13. I was obviously, you listen to classic shit, Nirvana, Slipknot, etc.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Learning how to play those tracks, and that's as far as I got with it. And like,
the weird
people like Mike who are mad talented with guitar, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I wasn't for a long time. I was terrible for years.
But naturally, you have to be. The only way you get good at anything is to be crap at it for a while. I mean, yeah.
Well, I think especially when you're young, you have to learn your way. You have to teach yourself your way of learning things, if that makes sense, which is a bizarre concept. Like, but I think once you sort of get that down, then everything's a lot easier. Like, I don't know, I've learned Premiere Pro since I've been doing this channel and do that stuff. Like, I've edited audio for years, and so it's kind of like transferable skills. But I mean, like, you can just pick those things up so much quicker.
Yep. I mean, I used to edit videos. I used DaVinci Resolve. I just like the interface, and I figured it out back to back now. And also, just over the years, just I don't like learning from a book. I like learning from experience. And if I mess up, I hate myself until I figure it out. I'm one of those like, you'll figure this out, you useless piece of,
It's just learning to be nicer and you said to yourself in those moments, isn't it? As well? And being like, no, you will figure this out.
I separate myself from my subconscious because he's an asshole. So I'm like, bro, chill. I'll figure this out.
Yeah, same.
Your subconscious is just sabotaging you constantly, the ass.
Yeah, man.
You're useless. No, I'm not.
So yeah, you mentioned that you like are very good at like designing. You do a lot of channel design and stuff, and you said that you're good at designing channels. And I obviously do all the channel stuff for mine and Mike's channel. So what do you use? Like, cause I know I use like Photoshop and Cinema 4D.
Photoshop, straight up.
Just straight up Photoshop.
That's it.
Sick.
And if it's pixel art, I'll use Sprite or Piskel.
Yeah, I know the ones.
Yeah,
but I never get on that.
I mean, otherwise it's just Photoshop. Most of the pixel art that I do, like I started out very crap, but I got very good very quick, surprisingly. And I hate saying that because it sounds egomaniacal, but it's the truth.
Nah, man. You worked it.
I struggled for like years trying to figure it out, and then I'd put it down, tried to put it down. I was crap, and then one day I was just. If I found whenever I try something without the intent of getting better, just like this is fun, then suddenly I'm good.
You get better, yeah, because it's when it's that voice in your head again. It's the imposter syndrome.
If you do something with the intent of getting good, you're like, and now it's like good. But then again, as good as I am now, I saw this artist yesterday on Instagram that I follow, and he does these awesome. He has such good color theory, and I saw it. I'm like, fuck, these colors so good. Now I'm gonna study the crap out of his big pieces so I can understand how he gets the color to look so good. Yeah. But otherwise, I mean, my pixel started off bad, and then as it got good, I found that there was a market on Twitter, for certain kinds of art that I shall not mention. So that brings in loads of money.
Fair, yeah.
I don't always enjoy doing it. I mean, I've over the years I've formed like this basis. Like if it's around this thing, I won't mention these things. And if it's these things, I don't do them. I was like, no, I will not do that.
So like when you do like the pixel art, I tried picking up pixel art for a little bit, and coming from a 3D background, I found that super jarring. Like
it must be strange
because pixel art's like so nice now. Like there's some games with pixel art and it just looks incredible. I'd love to make something like that, but every time I've gone at it, I'm just got really frustrated with it. Again, I've gone at it with the intent of getting better.
I know that there is styles and theory behind how to do it, but I don't like learning things the way they're meant to be done. I'm stubborn as shit. Like sometimes I'll find a tutorial on YouTube if I'm really stumped about something, but otherwise I'll just do it until I figure it out. So my style is not quite the same. If you're in the world of pixel art, you can kind of pick out the styles. But mine is similar to maybe like old King of Fighters with a bit of my variation, but generally I don't really have a style that's based in like these fields like boxes. Because I don't like doing things that way.
I think you find that stuff after a while. It kind of comes to it. Like I have a couple of different styles when I'm doing music stuff, like kind of like that Vangelis inspired like synth big sound, or like the music I make myself on a solo project is kind of like ambient post rock stuff, so like ambient and evolves into big distorted things and stuff like that. So those are like my two sort of main styles, and I'll go between those, and you'll find yourself like you can kind of just bring them together after one and make this merge style. And you just find it after a while. You just have to keep experimenting. So I definitely agree with kind of going a bit free form with it. I just think
do what you want, and it'll form itself into its own thing eventually.
I think I just use tutorials if I'm like, I can't work out how to do this one thing, and that's how I use tutorials. Otherwise, I'll just throw shit out.
If I'm really stumped, I'll go, much to my dismay, watch a video, and I hate it when they're like, hey, welcome to the channel. Last episode, we did this and this and that. Just get to the point.
Yeah, I assume you're like me in the sense that you like a worker where if you've got somebody like watching like over your shoulder or watching you work, you just can't do anything. Like just, I'm useless now. I don't know how to use the software anymore. And then as soon as somebody goes away, go and do it, and then they come back and ask you what you've done. You know, like that whole thing you have to do at school where it's like, explain your process. And my process was like, I don't know. I just panicked until I figured it out. I just kept going.
Right? It's a wonderful process.
I don't know.
Existential crisis. I'll figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, how did you get to this point? Like, just because I was crying about it 10 minutes.
It's because ultimately we were terrified of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and I just never been good at articulating.
Well, I am constantly.
Absolutely still am. Every single day. I'm like, I don't know why I'm spending so much time doing this because I'm fucking terrible at it.
If you're remotely creative, you're gonna have imposter syndrome. You could be the best in the world. You'll be like, this wasn't so good though, was it? Like,
do you really think that? You meet those people who are like, they are so sure of themselves and so sure Like,
constantly.
playing in bands. Are you telling me you didn't meet 20 different vocalists who thought they were Freddie Mercury in his prime?
Everyone has it. I believe. I mean, some people are way more confident in it, but as soon as doors are closed, they might deal with it differently. They might have a much easier time dealing with it. But everyone has that moment of just like, that could have been better.
It's the people, how people regulate it and deal with it.
Yeah. I'm very outward. Like last night, before I went to bed, I was looking at that guy's art, like I said, and then before I was like 1:30 in the morning, because this guy just couldn't not stop looking at it. I'm like, what is this guy doing that I'm not doing right? So before I went to bed, I showed all the pictures to my wife. And I'm like, look at all this, and she's just like rolling her eyes, like, your art is like as good. I'm like, but look at the color.
It's yours. It's yours. Yeah. You'll always strive to want to be. It's like, if I could do a Mano's work, that'd be amazing, but I'm never gonna be able to draw like that.
These watercolors are crazy.
Style. Yeah, it's just a different style of work. And
I can't paint watercolors, bro. He's incredible.
Yeah, it's mad.
But I think my favorite artist in Final Fantasy is what's his name? Nomura? No, it's Nomura. No. That's the guy.
Yeah,
I love the way he designs things.
Stuff, yeah.
But like,
he's the guy
very
now.
Angelic.
He runs it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He runs.
That's what's worrying, because he made.
I think wasn't his like where Final Fantasy 7 and then 8 came along, wasn't all like based on his designs. Like you can tell because they're all very angelic looking.
Yeah.
He has a very unique way of making even the men look gorgeous. Like when I first saw Squall, I was like, that's a sexy woman.
Yeah, he's super. Number 8's really androgynous. Yeah,
for sure.
There's a lot of
I was a very conflicted kid. I'm like, bro, because I showed it to a guy at school. I'm like, I had this game Final Fantasy 8, and my friend's like, what? And we've been nerding out ever since.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, this Squall. He goes, Squall's a guy. I'm like, I'm very conflicted now. I thought I was.
I think you walked in, and then you went into my room, and I was like, "Yeah, man, dude, I have a suit."
I have 7 original for PC and for console still.
My 7 originals in a little box just behind my desk.
I have a box too. I call it my Final Fantasy box. It was like a box that I made when I was in high school, and I just kept adding things to it, like all the walkthroughs that I had to come up with.
Yeah, so this is like this. This is the most sentimental thing I've ever had. I've like carried it around with me since FF7 came out, and I've been all over the country. And every time I move house, I find it, and then it forces me to play FF7 again.
I love
but this is like Power Station guide.
Oh, nice.
But look at how much it's like, how knackered it is. I bought it when I was like 9 years old.
I have my
still referred
Bible.
to this.
I remember that magazine was incredible. You used to get such good demos with it.
Yeah,
we didn't get that over here. Final Fantasy was not a big deal here. I mean, if you find any Final Fantasy fans, we were few and far between. People never even heard of it. I mean, I played 8 and then 7. I saw 8 in grade 7, so I was like 13, 14 when I first found 8.
Yeah. What you said about speaking to your mate at school and being like, "Oh my god, we were playing this game." With me, I hid the fact I played Final Fantasy, hid the fact I watched like Dragon Ball and stuff like that for years, just because like the nature of what our schools were like, it's all just sort of like football and like hyper masculinity. So like, I mean, something like that where it talks about emotions and stuff like that, you hide it. And it took me sort of a long time to get comfortable with my likes and the fact that I loved this series so much. That's why I'm like doing this channel has been pretty liberating.
Yeah,
I'm quite the opposite. I've been perfectly comfortable my whole life being whatever the hell I am. If you don't like it, fuck off.
I love that.
Be like Remmy.
I've never been one to go with the crowd. I remember trying smoking. I was like 12 for the first time. I'm like, why the fuck do you do this? It's disgusting. Never picked it up again. So I tried weed. I hated it. I don't drink because it makes me not in my right mind. I mean, I drink from time to time, but like twice a year maybe.
I did all those things a lot. Just kind of like I've put them to bed, and I followed the crowd a lot. Like it took me a long time to find my own identity and do that. So full respect to you, man.
If I shave my mustache, I look like I'm 18 again. It's ridiculous. If I shave, it's just baby face.
I'm 34 years old. Look at me.
Yeah, you're only 34.
Like a child.
The thing is, though, when I was in grade 12, I looked like I was in grade 7. I was tiny, puny little kid. So I was always picked on, but I didn't give. I mean, I got depressed in grade 12, but I didn't give a damn.
What's grade 12? Is that like last year of like high school or something?
Yeah.
How old would you be in grade 12?
grade 12, I would have been 18. Well,
So
I was 17 all that year because my birthday's at the end of the year, so I would have been 17.
That's like sixth form college for us then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you'd go to like university or whatever after you finish that year.
After that, yeah.
Because we finished school at 16 here.
I've always been I do what I want, and that's why I was always in trouble at school. I like order. I love order, but my order. Don't tell me what to fucking do.
Chaotic.
I wasn't a disrespectful kid. I just like doing things my way. But now we know I have Asperger's, but I didn't know until I was 30. So
that's really weird. I've had a few people. I've had like family and stuff like come to me and be like, "Yo, I didn't figure this out for like until I was in my 30s."
Literally.
Like,
I'm thankful I didn't figure it out.
This is a letter that I got through the other day of me going through the process of getting tested for ADHD and autism at the moment at 33. So I may be right behind you in that queue.
Sweet. Like I made a controversial video. I said, if for some reason you don't get diagnosed early and you don't get the mental health help you need in your youth, if you need it, like whatever reason, like you can't afford it because it's not free in your country or time doesn't permit, whatever reason, if you don't get it and you come out in the end, you're so well adjusted, you're mentally strong, dude. Like some of the best people I've ever known, which are just like I had to figure out and knuckle with it. Like I didn't know what was wrong. I always figured I'm the problem because I'm not like you and I can't fit in like you can. But well, I didn't care. I was just like, I'm like this deal.
Mike was first doing the remixes and that, and he'd just like, mate, just put this out, and then I'd make some animation for it, and I'm very much, I'll just keep adding and adding and adding.
I love the
Mike's a good stop for me. He's like, no, it's done. Like, you don't need to do any more to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I was like, oh no, but I could just add this one more thing, and he's like, no, it's good. And I've always found that really like that's been mint. That's helped us both like get this stuff done essentially.
I had to learn that from doing sound design, particularly when you're doing it freelance. You can just keep building a more and more detailed soundscape, and you kind of have to know that you can't put 10 pounds of shit in a £5 bag. So if that bag's full, close it off and throw it.
That's a wonderful analogy.
It's a pro wrestling analogy that's used over and over again. That's one of my other loves.
Well, wrestling.
Yeah, man.
I used to love it. I haven't watched it in also like a decade now. But I used to love the crap out of it in high school. Well, like my brothers loved it. My stepbrothers, they introduced me to pro wrestling and ice hockey, which I fucking loved both of them so much.
Well, you grew up a similar time as us, so like you grew up in the Attitude Era, I assume, like Austin, The Rock, and all that. Eh?
Yeah. My favorite was Jeff Hardy, though.
Yeah, obviously.
The man.
Swanton bomb.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was
great. So like on the wrestling subject, me and James always watched like our like go-to YouTube channels. This channel called OSW Review. It's kind of like old school wrestling review, and we've watched them for years. Cool. James has done some graphics for them and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like a sort of comedy. It's 3 Irish guys just talking about wrestling, and it's really, really funny. They just review pay-per-views, like do like a storyline.
They do great.
It's amazing.
They do bits now as well.
I like to watch like recaps of some of the older fights. Or
yeah,
like
you'd love it then. You'd love that.
watch small clips of what's happening recently. Like Logan Paul was on there or whatever.
Yeah, that's all. That's how we kind of keep in touch now. Apart from we watch the big matches and stuff. But...
Admittedly, Logan Paul, he fucking belongs there, dude. He's a villain. He's extremely athletic. He's built for that.
He's genetically built for pro wrestling.
He really is, isn't he?
Yeah.
I watched like bits and pieces of WWE, and then kind of like watched like AEW and like New Japan Pro Wrestling, because like New Japan's like it's
mad.
It's a bit more like my sort
Japanese
of
folks. They do things differently, like 100%. Like
they just way I'd put it is like they just do not fuck about. Do not fuck about it. If there's two guys in there and they want to put a good match on, they'll just lever each other for the crowd. Like it's great.
Yeah. I saw a video a couple of years ago, I think maybe 2015 or so, maybe around there, with Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy made like a comeback, and it was really cool to see. They lost their minds.
Did you see any of the broken stuff they did? They did like the Broken Hardys thing, where Matt was like playing this like possessed deity character, and it was really over the top and like completely different to anything they'd done. It was like kind of like The Room meets wrestling.
If you see
that's really cool.
Yeah. It's like kind of that thing that's Car Crash. It started off as like everyone in the wrestling community was like, this is terrible. Is this making a massive mockery of wrestling, or is this actually that really good? That's stupid. It's amazing. And it will end up being that.
Everyone thought was having a relapse because he'd had a lot of drug issues. So like, oh god, he's really gone off the rails. But he hadn't. He'd got himself completely clean and was like, I'm going to just try something completely different and reinvent myself. And he did it. And just fair play to him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
I think that's half the gig.
So circling back around to our go-to YouTube channel, OSW. Do you have any go-to YouTube channels at the minute?
No, not really. I watch whatever shows up, I suppose. The downside to that is it's so random. I'm watching Minecraft again. Like sometimes if I'm busy with work, there's like an 8-hour. There's a person building with amazing shaders, mind you. There's no music. There's no narration. It's just a person playing regular. It's playing regular mode, whatever it's called, and mining shit and building a lake house. So it's fucking cool. Let's just put it in the back.
Yeah, I did.
What's the one you told me where someone was building Trabia Garden?
I built that.
Oh, you built.
You built Trabia Garden. Yo, let me see that.
I'll get it for you. I'll link it real quick.
Please.
Keep in mind, back then, I don't know why, but for like my childhood and well into my early 20s, I had like real nasal issues that just kind of cleared up one day. So I struggled with I've asthma and my nose sucked. So this is very old and like I just,
oh man, we're not gonna worry about that. I just want to see it again.
And I never stopped talking. So I explain that there's no concept art because I look. Trust me, I'm every few months I say, did anyone do anything new for Final Fantasy VIII? Is there any new fan art? Because I love Final Fantasy VIII so much. So I looked into the whole thing for Trabia, and there's only very bits of concept art where you see what it might have looked like complete. So you see the garden, and then you see like these 2 dome buildings on the left in the concept art. You don't know what they are though, so I put them in. Now, granted, if I did them now, it'll be far better. But
as if any piece of work anybody does, the next one's always.
This was it at the time.
Oh wait, it's just like no.
Online, have you seen Project Melody?
One minute, you mean not Maguri, but the Memoria project that someone's doing.
Sorry, that's the one. My bad. Yeah. That's the one.
I know.
Yeah, it looks good, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing though. It looks amazing, but they're not kind of giving away what they're doing. Other than the fact I think they're just doing what I would have done. It's just making the stuff and animating it. It's great. That I love it.
It's really good. It has a real cartoonish feel, which is 9 has that, and I'm not sure if you know, but they're making a Final Fantasy 9 anime too now.
Yeah, man. It's been made in France at the minute, isn't it? Some anime studio.
I hope that they keep that quirky, cartoony style because that's everything to me.
Well, it's perfect because like Mike's got like a young child, and if that comes out, he's gonna like get to show his young child like.
Oh hey, yeah.
So we're just like come on.
It'd be a lot more accessible. Cool? Although she's not really seen me play games much, so I can introduce her being like, oh yeah. These like dated graphics are not actually dated. She's not gonna know.
Sure. I mean, there is like the remastered widescreen version, which is very nice. Make the
Meguri mod's beautiful. Yeah, they repainted the background. I love that. They nailed it.
There's a guy long before the Final Fantasy VII remake came out. There was a guy called Tinamods who was like modding the crap out of it. I was doing Sung's voice for a while.
He's the next person we're interviewing.
Yeah, we know. We speak to Suna quite often.
Yeah, so I was Sung's voice. And then they got this guy who I know called Christian Sikanen, who's a very good voice actor, and they were getting him to like do like a directorial role. So he was like redoing all the cast, like you had to like reapply, and then I was like, you know what, I'm out because. The guy, I've heard one of the impressions of Sung. I was like, this guy is way better than me. I'm like, I'm out. He's way better, dude.
Yeah,
because I was doing Sung from Crisis Core, the original one, and then they've changed him. He sounds better because the original one was like, soldier, second class, Zach. Director Lazard was doing the meeting room. He spoke like that, real monotone. They changed it to a better one now, so I was good with that. But the new one, no.
Fair.
Same thing with Reno. I was able to do Reno just fine, and then they changed him, and it just has. I prefer the original Reno, Quentin Flynn, but yeah, they changed it.
Right, so on the subject of Final Fantasy, what's your favourite Final Fantasy?
8.
8.
I'm not even going to hesitate, dude. It was the first one that I played, and the world, oh god, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've built Trabia Balam, although Balam sucks because I was young. And I'm busy building Flying Balam because no one's done that. I'm building Fisherman's Horizon, and I've built the Tomb of the Unknown King.
Sick.
Amazing.
So did you would you agree that 8 is definitely like the bastard child of Final Fantasy, as in terms of the weird one? It's like the weird kid.
12 or 13, I'd say.
No, yeah, I don't even. So I mean, after 10 and 11,
don't get me wrong. I love 12. I finished it. I love 13, and I finished it. I'm just saying that they were given that title, but 8 certainly is there with them. But 8 over the years, FI has formed like this cult fan base that it's not really.
Well, that's it. It's just like the aesthetic of that game is perfect, but it's just like, and then obviously resolve it. It does have a lot of issues.
I know it's got issues, but like,
it's perfect. As you said, it's so. It captures so many people's imaginations, I think, with that like, sick aesthetic.
I love it.
School, like the fact you're in a school and you're a soldier, and I loved that, and that was.
It was such a because I was in high school and it came out. I'm like, that is a fucking cool concept.
Why am I not in Seed? Why am I not a mercenary?
Why am I not an orphan?
The entire idea, like, they wanted to make these schools and call them gardens, and that's why their elite combatants are called seeds. It's a garden, and you're planting a seed. And that's why Eden, the final summon or the big summon, looks like a garden, the Garden of Eden.
Because I played 7 first, and then I played 8, and it was just such a juxtaposition to what 7 was. It was the whole thing. I was like, oh my god, this look. I don't care, but it's not Midgar anymore because
still both
now
being dystopian.
Yeah, and being this weird dystopian. It's a bit more of like a
feel dystopian. 8 had a really weird vibe. 8 felt happy, and a bit less downcast.
Yeah,
but there was this level of like, there's technology, like, there's a flying gardens and flying ships, but they can't send radio signals. It's a really strange thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I went down a bit of a lore hole a couple of months ago, where I was like learning about Sorceress Adel and kind of like how the world essentially ended, and this is the reconstruction of a post-apocalyptic landscape, and that's why you have those kind of like inconsistencies in how stuff happened. Like this ancient garden that Sid and Idea restored.
Yeah.
Like it was completely unknown technology.
It was an ancient what do they call it? It wasn't a garden, there was like an ancient facility that was built by the Centra, the ancient Centra. They built 3 of them. They built where Balam is, where Trevi is, and where Galbadia is, and they just used them as the structure for their gardens.
Shelters.
Each one of them, shelters. That's them. And each one of them was meant to initially, according to the artist, was meant to look like a certain tree or a certain plant, which just became something of its own as they designed it. So what they went to look like, I don't know. But I'm not sure if you saw, but somebody built Galbadia in Minecraft 1-to-1. It's beautiful. I downloaded the world. Oh, it's big. It's so big. Like I had a 1070 Ti graphics card that I couldn't even render it properly. There was so much stuff. It was just...
what's your favorite music track from FF8?
Fisherman's Horizon.
Nice.
Easy one. I've always liked seaside chill vibes.
Did you watch? Have you seen a Fisherman's Horizon video we did?
We were just talking about.
Yeah, I love that artwork, man. So fucking cool. But like, which is why I made that channel I mentioned called Sunneth Glade. I like to find music or indie artists that fit like this chill solar punk vibe, and I'm like, in there. Even I built this town over the past 8. I've been building in the same world for 10 years, Minecraft world, and the one town I've just been adding to, it's meant to be sort of reminiscent of Luca from 10, because that's a real like seaside vibe that I love.
Really like. I love one of my favorite parts of 10 is when you first pull up at Luca and Tidus.
You're right.
Man, I was like, however old I was when it first came out.
I'm gonna link a video where I'm talking about how like I've been building in the same world for 10 years. If you fast forward to the end, you'll see like the place I was building. Like if I should like rebuild everything now, it'll be so much better. But I spend so much time in this world that I kind of get nostalgic just thinking about my own world that I built. It's really hard.
Yeah. So I've got a question. Like this is my favorite question to ask anybody who's a fan of Final Fantasy. So you've got a team. We're going to say 3, Mike, because a team of 3 FF characters. You're allowed to choose 3, but you're only allowed to choose one from each game. So you can't, for example, have like Squalls, Zell, Selfie. You'd have to have one from each game. And why would you choose those? It doesn't have. It's up to you. You have to be balanced. It could be completely based off aesthetic. It's up to you. Or it could be a strategy thing. It's up to you, man. Whatever.
Okay. I think Zell gets a bad rap. I think Zell's fucking super strong.
Sick.
Zell's awesome. Like I wanted to voice him, but like hi Brett, kind of guy, hi Zell, everyone. Like that'd be cool. So Zell for sure. I think Zell. I've done a bit of fan art for him. I like Zell. But also I like Kairos a lot too. Zell it is. Kuja, because Kuja's got a sad story. I love him.
Kuja doesn't get it. Kuja's a
Kuja, also Amaranth. I think Amaranth didn't get enough screen time for people to care about him.
That's the shock. That's the surprise me. I don't think. Yeah, Amaranth was like the one character in 9 that I did.
Okay. I
always called him Syphilis because it would always say, "My name is the Flaming Syphilis" whenever you named him. And then I just never use him by that one bit you've got in the Arthur tree.
Okay. I've made my choices. Zell, Quinn, because he's awesome. He can literally eat you and learn your abilities.
Yep.
Zell, Quinn. There's not really in 10 that I can pick out. Not really. 12. No, I mean, I like Belthea from 12, but no. 13 gets a bad rap too, because I think Saz. I love Saz's story. Quinn, Zell, and Saz. There we go, because I love them.
That's again, it's really interesting to hear because I think either some people really struggle with it or they're like so adamant, and it's always the characters I don't.
It's always the main characters, the Dan, Skull, and Cloud.
Yeah, like that's why I have to separate it games because I'm always like, if it could be free from the same game, it's going to be Steiner, Vivi, and Zidane.
Also, I love Laguna, dude. Like in high school, I used to connect with Squall. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, Laguna is a G, dude. That guy.
Right. So
the real hero.
I replayed FF8 when Violet, my oldest, was maybe about a year old. She's 3 now, and rewatching it as a dad gave me a totally different experience. I was like, this guy is a terrible dad. He's the world's worst dad. I love Laguna.
Laguna.
I absolutely love Laguna. But you look at it, like he knows that Squall's his son. Like he knows it. He alludes to it in the different bits of dialogue. He knows it, but just doesn't say it. It's not like, oh my god, you're my son. He just instead chooses to ignore it, despite the fact he's gone through all of this thing with Ellen, of her being like his surrogate daughter.
I think it's just kind of terrible writing in that moment. But also, there's also the impending doom of Sorcerer's Ultimecia and Lunatic Pandora. So it was more like we have more pressing things than a family gathering. We'll talk. That's why when you're about to go into Lunatic Pandora, Laguna says to him, "We need to talk about some shit. You know, when you get back."
Whereas I agree in some ways about the pressing oncoming potential downfall of time itself. I'm also like, fuck it, you might not get another chance. So would you want to die without ever having that chance?
I thought when you said he's a bad, terrible father, I thought like you mentioned because he like left Rain alone. I'm like, but there was a reason. But like
with Elaine, he did everything. He moved heaven and earth. He made an entire resistance movement to save Elaine. But with Squall,
and became the president.
Yeah, exactly. And then with Squall, he was just like, well, he knew that Squall went off to the orphanage. He knew that what happened to Rain because
I'm not sure if you know. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off though.
No, carry on.
No, man.
I'm not sure if you know, but Cypher's entire fighting style is based off of Laguna. Do you know that? So you know, in one of the dream sequences, you're fighting a dragon as Laguna in like a movie.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I remember that.
Laguna has the stars. So the reason Cypher fights like that is because it was his favorite movie. That's why Cypher was to be the Sorcerer's Knight so bad because of that movie.
No, you know what, man? I love this
Why
shit.
did I not know that?
So Cypher hates Squall, but he loves his daddy.
Yeah.
9's world feels sad to me. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, it's hella sad.
It's covered in mist.
It's war torn. Like,
So
like
it's England.
mist.
It's medieval England.
Well, listen, it's covered in mist and it's called Alexandria.
Yes.
It kind of sounds English. Anyways, so you got the mist continent, but even when you leave the mist continent, all the surrounding continents just feel empty and sad.
It's because it's in the middle of the war, man. It's like war torn, isn't it? Like...
And then 8 kind of just feels happier, even though there's towns like scattered. I actually proposed to my wife with a ring and a Pokeball.
Cute.
We went to the first Comic-Con in the whole of Africa, first one ever, like 5 years ago. And she really wanted to go, so like saved up. And then we went to Team Rocket, but the ones in black with the black newsboy hat and the white gloves, and we had like a belt full of Pokeballs that are made out of like styrofoam. And then we had like one prop one, and in there I was like, I choose you.
Oh, mate, cool. That's dope. I mean, as long as she's a big Pokemon fan, like if she's
Yeah,
She hates
yeah. Oh yeah, she absolutely.
we're proper nerds. I literally rearranged our entire display. We got Pokemon here, Harry Potter here, Star Wars there, and you know. The one thing that I don't have any memorabilia on, despite the fact that I'm a fucking fan, is anything Final Fantasy. Because there's nothing in the country. And it's so expensive to import from Japan. So expensive. And I don't trust our postal services. They'll just lose it or take it.
The one thing I want on Square Enix's website, they've got like a VV and Steiner figure that you can articulate. I need it. Like I'm gonna have to get that eventually. That's the coolest.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
It's for the remake one. So like, it comes out like the in sleeve is a giant Buster sword.
Oh my god!
And then you've got the double.
No, that is cool.
But then, so it came out for remake. So you have on this one. So this is the
the
vinyl. So this is the remake artwork. I've got a fairly sizable collection of vinyl, and then that's this one. And then you go to the other one, and it's the original artwork of the exact same.
Oh
pictures.
no! Cool, cool.
Yeah, they nailed on it. So cool.
That's the only Final Fantasy stuff I've got bar the games.
A friend of mine has a Squall one. Like a proper, like the Play Arts Kai one, like the one that you can do. There's actually there's a page on Facebook called Solar Eclipse. They build like stupid high quality like figurines. Like you know how Squall has had a few little redesigns through the years. They've given him more fur on the thing. They've changed his anyways. So their design looks exactly like the original Squall from 8, and it's big like this, and you can change his sword for the original revolver or the Lionheart. It's so cool.
Sick.
But they're so expensive. I mean,
yeah, man. I've been to a few, like we have a few cons and stuff. We have this thing in London down here called Hyper Japan, and they do like it's like a big convention, and people just sell. There's just people just selling every anime figure you can imagine, basically. Like it's like
dude. Damn.
Yeah, and every time I go, I always find one or two Final Fantasy things, but they're never like top quality stuff. So I was like, these are okay, I guess. Like.
Anything's hard to find. Whenever you find any kind of Final Fantasy 8 figurines, it's always Squall, maybe Renoa. It's never anybody else. It's never Zell, it's never Laguna.
With the 8, especially with 8 stuff, again, but I don't think they did as much merch with it.
If you go to like the Square Enix website, you can buy Quinn. Less character.
I think with 9, didn't they have like a sponsorship with like Coca-Cola as well? And they had like there was an advert. There was a Final Fantasy 9 advert with Coke, and they had like little bottle toppers in America that you could have like the characters, and people sell them on eBay. And I'm like. But they're alright. They just don't look as cool as they should do.
I remember the advert. They literally made an entire like little movie sequence for the for, like a advert. Yeah.
Thank you very much for answering those questions. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Do you want to plug your channels? Tell us what we should be looking at of yours.
I'm on TikTok as Mr Remmington, double M. I'm on YouTube as Mr Remmington, double M. I'm on Instagram, Mr Remmington, double M. I'm the only Mr Remmington with 2 M's on the whole internet. If you find a Mr Remmington with 2 M's, that's me. That's me.
That's some consistent branding.
Yeah, I made sure that no one took it. There's nobody on the internet with that name with 2 M's. No one. It's me.
Amazing.
Yeah, clever.
Good stuff.
So we only have to put it at once, and we just have things like.
I won't plug the art because that's not exactly something you want to go promote right now. Plus, I'm working on 2 video games, but that's neither here nor there. I'll promote that myself when it comes out.
Sick. Well, we're here when you're ready to talk about more. But yeah.
Sweet.
Sick.
Mr Remmington on everything. If you want to follow us, you can find us on Twitch at Final Fantasy and Chill, and Instagram at Final Fantasy and Chill, and you're already on a YouTube channel, so like and subscribe and all of those things. Thank you very much for joining us.
If you guys need any like pixel art landscape for one of your videos, hell yeah, I'll love to do like a little
Let's talk design stuff. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to do that. Final Fantasy 8 though, okay.
Yeah.
You're right. Thanks guys for doing this. This was fun.
Thank you, Remmy.
Yeah. Awesome.
What's going on with Final Fantasy in a minute, and then be like, right, now let's bring in our guest. Transition.
Let's bring in our guest.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll play some like we'll get like a big metal transition for you. It's kind of like
Yeah, dude.
flames and explosions and shit. Yeah.
My guitar is like right there, dude. I was in a band. So it was
Sick.
What guitar
Your
have you
mic
got?
can do it.
Hmm?
What guitar have you got?
It's an Ibanez, Geo Ibanez, with a Strat look.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
It's got
it
a-
has got a Strat look.
It's got a metallic black, but you can't really see in this light.
I've got my Fender Telecaster Custom 782, which is my absolute pride and joy.
I love those pickups.
It's dented to hell, but I got it from like
Oh, same.
I got it really cheap.
Yeah, mine was in pristine condition. Then a friend of mine was carrying it while in its bag, and he dropped it not very hard, but just enough, and then it took a chip out the top. So it's got some battle scars, dude.
That's what you want, man.
I've got the Music Man Stingray
Oh.
bass, which I was a bassist first, so it's my
That's
pride.
a
I
cool
basically
watch.
grew up watching, like, me and Mike met at university, and I basically just watched him learn guitar over the last 12
Cool.
years. It's crazy.
It's a cool
Like-
progression to see from the outside.
Yeah, it was mad, like, because like one day it's just like, oh yeah, just going
I
off.
had a bass. It was a vintage SX bass, and then I borrowed it to a former bandmate who got into substance and then sold it for next to bugger all. So he sold my bass.
It happens. I had the exact same thing happen. The exact same thing happen. Luckily, it wasn't
Oh,
that
well.
one. Otherwise, I may
Yeah.
have sold his limbs.
You
on the
did
side.
Somebody might die.